Hey, it's Anthony Wofford, author of How to Get Into Drama School, Choosing the Right Monologues and Other Notables, and we have an awesome podcast for you today. A little bit earlier, I interviewed my brother, Andrew Wofford, who went to CalArts and is a filmmaker and actor in Hollywood today. Wanted to get his perspective on when he was going into drama school and some of the things he was dealing with. And what's so awesome about this episode is that we're brothers. And so I know a lot of things about him. I know a lot of things about his, kind of his entire life that shaped him up until he auditioned for colleges and everything and all the things that led up to that. And so I actually asked him, a lot of the hard questions right out of the gate. We're not really dealing with general questions in this podcast. Questions like, how did you choose your monologues, or what schools did you apply for? I actually know him, and we have the opportunity to kind of talk about some of the challenges I know he was dealing with. And, so I wanted to keep this podcast short for you, 25 minutes or less. And, so you could be, listening to it while you jog or listening to it while you drive to school or something like that. And at the same time, I wanted to give you as much value as possible so you could really hear stories of what it's like to kind of move through things that, you may perceive to be in your way, but really, people who get into top drama schools all deal with challenges and whatnot. And so hearing somebody else's story is always valuable. And so I'm really happy that Andrew was able to share. And I know we're going to have him on again. But enjoy this podcast of me and Andrew having lunch together in a mall in San Francisco, California, talking about how to get into drama school. Jump right into it. Enjoy. Ever since you were little, you've always had, you've learned that you had dyslexia. And you dealt with that. So when you were choosing monologues, when you were working on monologues, when you were applying to schools, how did you having dyslexia how did you deal with that when you were preparing for college auditions?
I was diagnosed with dyslexia in second grade. And from that point, I was told very early on that I had to just work harder, and to accept it, that was the reality, the way my brain worked. There's no cure. It's just a matter of how well you can adapt and the tricks that you can learn throughout time that will help your brain process the information better. So I found reading prose was very hard for me. When I say prose, I mean like novels or like long books, small text, very difficult. What I found to be very easy for me was dialogue, was plays. I could read dialogue. My brain accepted that a lot easier. So when it came to monologues, I really had to just overwork, put double the amount of hours in. And that's something that was reiterated to me at CalArts when I was in my second year with Mary Lou Rosado. Within the first day, she was like, I know this about you, and just know that I'll be pushing you a lot harder than I push anybody else in this class, because I know that for you to be at that level that I want you to be at, you have to work 10 times harder than anybody else in here because of that. So accept it, learn to love it, and know that that's just going to make you a better actor and a better performer. So as far as high school, that was what I focused on, was just really working until I knew I felt good. And when I felt good, it was time to perform.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like each of us has whatever you want to call them, right, setbacks or challenges, really, right, that either stuff like dyslexia, or even it's maybe emotional stuff, right, or it may be, insecurity, whatever, self-doubt.
Yeah.
And, like for me, singing is not something I've ever been super secure about, but right, I want to. And I've always was told, like, hey, you just have to work harder,
right?
And in any given area, you may have to work a lot harder than others. That's cool. Everybody does. So do it, because if you don't, you're just going to be like average, and
right,
you'll just kind of rely on whatever is easy for you. But that's what everybody does.
Right.
So yeah, that's great. Work at it, and you obviously did. So another thing I want to talk about is your top choice and the school you ended up at.
Yeah.
So you have a top choice.
Yeah.
You even had a second choice, like a sort of like you were pretty sure you were going to go here if your top choice didn't work out, and then you didn't even go there.
Right.
So what was the story there, and how did you end up where you did?
Yeah. So of course, having my high school, both of our high schools had, Churchill High School had a lot of people go to a lot of places. So we heard from a lot of people about their schools, about their training programs, and I was lucky enough to have you get into Juilliard at, I was 12 years old, and that was obviously a vision that I had for myself as well. And when that didn't work out, I had spoken to two of my other, high school colleagues, and they were both at the University of Minnesota Guthrie training program, and I had the pleasure of auditioning for Ken Washington, who right off the bat we got along. It felt like we had a connection instantaneously, and everything he asked me to do in that room, I did with ease. He even so much commented on it and said, he thanked me for the work that I had put in to make that audition as smooth as it went. He even went so far to say, I'll see you at callback weekend. Be ready for the call. You know what I'm saying? He was very confident in me. And so I made another call to my friend Ben Mendelbaum, who was also somebody who was going to that program, and I said, dude, give me the lowdown, because this just went from from a top 5 choice to a top 2 choice within a matter of, one audition. So I needed to know all the information. And that school in particular has a lot of academic requirements. So I suggest anybody who's looking into schools that are at state universities, say the University of Texas, or say, the University of Minnesota, there's a top 10 rule at these schools, and you need to be in the top 10% of your class to be guaranteed acceptance. If not, you have to meet a certain guideline grade-wise, which is not the case at Juilliard. It's not the case at CalArts. It's not the case at some of these conservatories. They don't really even look at it. They don't even care if you really did take the ACT or the SAT. They just want to know that in that audition room, you came here to perform today, and you're ready to train for the next 4 years. So Minnesota said, look, we're going to not only give you a full schedule of acting classes, but we're going to give you a full schedule of academics as well. We want well-rounded, academic, smart actors. That was their brand. And so, coming from where I came from, I was in all regular classes. I didn't take AP classes. I'm not your classically smart kid, I'm very artistic. I was very bad at math and science, but it excited me to know that a program was saying, hey, we want actors to be intelligent people. And that was what I wanted from myself. So I knew that I was willing to put that work in if they were willing to invest in me. And I ended up getting into that program, and then because of my grades, I had a 3.7, and Ken Washington, contacted me and said, hey man, administration is looking for a 3.8 and a 28 on your ACT, and you have a 27 and a 3.7. And he goes, I'm going to try to work hard to get you into this program, but just know that, it's going to be more difficult than I initially thought it would. So, unfortunately, I got waitlisted at that program, and then, CalArts came up 2 days later, and, not only did they accept me, they gave me scholarship right off the bat. They had an incredible faculty. So a school that I felt was, it was definitely in my top 5, but it was 5. It was the 5th choice. And when the other schools didn't work out, I wasn't down. I wasn't upset. I dedicated so much time and effort to learning about those top 5 schools, and I said to myself, no matter what happens, this is world-class training. All 5 of these schools offer that. I'm not applying for anything that's not world-class. So I was not down. I was not down on myself. I was excited. I had 4 other kids from my high school go to CalArts before me. So the moment that happened, I was on the horn with all those people saying, what should I be excited about? Who are the teachers I should meet first? Who do I need to know? What do I need to do? You know what I'm saying? I was on that go mode to be like, okay, how do I integrate myself into this community? Because this is the community I'm going to be at. So these other 4 schools that I had done a lot of thought on, I had done a lot of research, that was no longer in my brain. And I knew when I called Nataki Garrett, I said, I'm coming to this school. And she said, great, you're in. We can't wait to have you. That was the energy that I got from my faculty. So I encourage anybody, that's the type of energy you should want from your faculty. yes, we want you. Come on, you want somebody who's going to fight for you. And that's what CalArts did for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, like what I hear you saying is that, you applied to schools that you felt you were excited about no matter what. These are world-class programs, and you've got your top choice, because who doesn't? You may have a second choice, a third, a fourth, you may rank them, but, bottom line is you applied to those because that's where you would want to go.
Right.
And everybody, at some point, like, you don't get a role that you wanted, or, you don't get into the school that you wanted. We all deal with, like, not getting what we wanted. And I think that what was revealed in your character was that you're not someone who, like, just says, well, I'll just wait till next year. Yeah. Or sulks, and so that's really to your credit, and you were able to benefit because of that attitude. And then, I think it's important to always acknowledge that people not only accept you for your talent, but you also get accepted for your attitude. Whether they're accepting you for your attitude, or whether it's because your attitude positioned you in a way that they may not know about, but you did something internally that, put you out there more, or that made you more attractive to the program. Having a great attitude is underrated, especially in artists, because sometimes it can be entertaining to not have a good attitude. But yeah, having a good attitude, and obviously also being prepared. Let's see, we have time for a couple more questions. And like I said, this is great because, these are questions that are not general. These are questions that I, can kind of glean from you. So I'm your brother. I went to Juilliard. How was it having a family member? Let's even broaden it further. Let's say people have a friend that goes to a school that they're applying to, or a brother. What was that like, having someone so close to you go to a school? Did you feel like that was an advantage or not? How did you deal with that dynamic?
Well, I will say there's a big difference in a family member and a friend. Because I have many friends who went to a lot of schools, but on that application, they asked, do you have family that goes to this school? And I remember being incredibly proud to put Anthony Wofford, brother, on there. And I've spoken to other siblings who have gone to Juilliard. Your friend, the Greers, I spoke to him at your production in New York, and he said the same thing. He said, man, what an honor to have a brother who was not only interested in the same thing I was interested in, but interested in going to the same training program that I was at. And he said that just benefited us even more. It helped us push each other. It helped us get better. And I felt like I was at such a young age where I was so open to being molded at that point, that the moment that I think you accepted that this was something I wanted to do, you were very active in giving me the resources, the books, the reading lists, the things that I would need, the knowledge I would need to prepare myself and to open up my brain to the training that was already being presented. And I'll tell you right now, when I got to CalArts, my first year reading list, I had already read not 30%, like 3/4 of those books, 75% of those books I'd already read. Now, I reread them because that's the beauty of acting books, is that no matter where you are in your life, you can reread those and they're a wealth of knowledge. I reread the first 6 lessons by Richard Boslowski every 5 years. You know what I'm saying? I reread Respect for Acting all the time. I reread, Zen and the Art of Archery. These are incredible wealths of knowledge that inform me as an artist at every stage, as I grow. Because acting is, a fine wine. We just get better with age. You know what I'm saying? As we grow, we get, our technique changes and transforms, and we play different roles, and I think our humanity grows. So having a family member, having friends that are in the conservatory training program is so important, because those are the people that I looked at and I said, give me the honest truth. Let me know about this program. Who is the faculty? Who do you love? You know what I'm saying? Who do you hate? What do you not like about this program? Give me the honest truth.
Yeah.
And that's about having friends and family who are not gonna BS you, you know? And I was that kid who was calling admissions and saying, hey, let me talk to alumni that I didn't know, specifically to ask them questions about things that people from those schools had already told me, just to see if they would BS me, just to see if they'd sugarcoat something for me. And they did. Many times, because their job in the administration office is to get you excited, is to get you informed, to get you ready to come, you know, to that school. And that was not what I was interested in. I wanted to know the realistic issues that students are going through and what those communities were doing to, you know, to help students in that category. So for CalArts in particular, a lot of those people were telling me that tuition rising was a huge deal for the past 10 years. You know, I got into school in 2010. I was talking to a guy from my high school who got in 03. And he was saying in 03 we were having these problems. We were talking about these things back then. You cannot stop this conversation. It must continue. And it still continues to this day because alumni have told the incoming class, these are the things we're dealing with. So I think that's very important when you're going to a school to have friends or family who are interested or who have gone to those schools. It's a huge help. They cut all that BS out and they just let you know how it really is.
Did I cut the BS out and tell you what it was really like?
100%. And if you didn't, Brendan Spieth did. And if Brendan Spieth didn't, your roommates did. I mean, I had definite people who you introduced me to that definitely gave me answers that you didn't, which was incredible. You know what I'm saying? Because,
what did I hold back?
Well, it's not that you held back. It's that I chose to ask them questions that I didn't choose to ask you because I knew that there was we're brothers. So I think there's certain things I don't think you would ever talk bad on Juilliard, ever. You know what I'm saying? You love that program. And especially when you were there. You know what I'm saying? You weren't that guy. Brendan Spieth, though? Brendan Spieth gave me some shit, you know? He let me know. So there were certain people who I'd ask certain questions.
What did Brendan say about Juilliard that was bad?
Well, Brendan said that it was... it's not that it was bad. It's just that it was different. So Brendan is for some of for the guys who don't know Brendan Spieth, he's a wild man. You know, which makes him an incredible actor. You know, an incredible artist in general. Is that his instincts are right on his sleeve. You know, he makes bold choices instantaneously, and there's no thought in there, which is really what a lot of actors take a lifetime to get to, right? He was born with this. Man makes choices, right? Well, he was saying at Juilliard, his classmates sometimes were not so supportive of that. Sometimes his classmates, got on him, got in his head, got angry at him, or, I think there was also a potential fight at one point where, he felt like he was disrespected and the teachers didn't come to his aid and he didn't know how to really, handle that situation. So he gave me the advice of really stay true to who you are, right? He was like, this school is going to try to change a lot of things because you come in with a lot of habituals and they want to break those and then they want to rebuild this actor that is a Juilliard branded actor that has certain things that they do. You know what I'm saying? So he was very adamant to me. He was like, look, you are so unique. And he was like, you have to keep that uniqueness because that's what got you here, right? You have to grow. Don't stagnate your growth, but know that you're a kid from the South, right? You came from your parents. You came from your grandparents. That family, those people who made you who you are, it would be a disrespect to them if you negated all of the instincts that you had grown with and that they had shaped you in just because some school was saying it might work. It might be better if you do this. You got to make all of those decisions for yourself. And you got to say, what do I need to do today to get better, right? Not because you said this, not because you said this, but because I know this is what I need to do to better myself, which is actually really funny at CalArts. CalArts is not a place where they're going to push you to get better. You have to push yourself to get better. They want to see, they're not going to level everyone out and then build together. They're going to take everyone at their own levels, and they're going to see who wants to jump the highest. They're going to see who's early to class. They're going to see who stays late. They're going to see who takes that extra scene. They're not going to suggest any of that. They're not going to say, oh yeah, you should do this. Who's hungry? Who wants to get this training? That's what Fran Bennett used to tell me. Who wants to get this training? I'd be an hour early to Fran Bennett. I'd get there before Fran. You know what I'm saying? That was my 9 a.m. class. I was there at 8. I'd be there waiting for her to open the door, you know? And she knew that. And when she knew that, she would tell other faculty that because they talk together. They meet every week and they talk about your progress. And I'll tell you, in my first year, Fran Bennett is the reason why I stayed at CalArts. Mary Lou Rosado is another huge reason I stayed at CalArts. And, you know, because I knew going into CalArts year 1, I was like, I'm going to train so hard this year, and if it's not my style, I'll go re-audition somewhere with a year of solid conservatory training under me. Mary Lou Rosado was the reason why I stayed, because she was Shakespeare's second year, and she said, look, if you stay, she goes, we want you to stay. We love you here. If you stay for my year and you don't like it after year 2, I'll write you your letter of recommendation wherever you want to go. And after that year, I stayed with her every single year. I took her studio. I was the only person in CalArts history who did Shakespeare for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? She allowed me to TA her class. That's another thing that I would suggest to anybody. Ask for what you want, right? Nobody had ever asked Mary Lou, hey, can I stay in your studio and just watch? You know what I'm saying? Just observe, just take notes. And she was like, yeah. I took 4 studios a week. You know what I'm saying? I had my 2 studios I had, and then I had 2 studios with the class under me, you know, or the class under them. Like, I was constantly there because I knew she was the gem, right? And that's who I wanted to attach myself to the most. So when the other faculty saw that, they knew. They liked that. They were like, okay, we see him working, you know? That's great. I got cast in certain shows because of that, you know?
Andrew's very good at relationships.
That's key.
Yeah, it is. And he has a lot of instincts in that regard. And I know, a lot of people don't, see that. And so we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. And I think Andrew has shown that in all of his responses here. We're going to end it here for now. But as you can tell, Andrew, my brother, very valuable insights here when it comes to getting into drama school. And I think for sure I have tons more questions.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, we will do it again. But, wanted this to be something, around 30 minutes, you could metabolize. Hopefully you took notes and, always focus on what you're connecting with, what makes you respond, what makes you really juiced to do this type of work. And you're never going to be on the wrong path if you stay with what you're inspired by. All right, till next time, how to get into drama school. This is Anthony Wofford signing off.